Well, welcome back to the Nancy K. Coy Show. Thank you for jumping in. We talk about women founders, entrepreneurs, those that want to be, and those that actually are probably married to a startup founder. We want to talk about venture capital and everything that happens as a startup or business owner. And again, as this really applies to women. Today, we're going to dive into two critical topics that really can make or break your startup. It's about product market fit and scaling. Whether you're just starting out and looking to grow your business, this episode is really packed with gold nuggets that you won't want to miss. 10% of startups actually get to product market fit before they run out of cash. And that's a harsh reality. It's really sad when you think about it, because there's a lot of really great ideas, but we spend so much time, energy, and money and not doing this right. So hopefully I'm going to give you some tidbits here today to help you avoid those pitfalls. Our agenda today is how to validate the idea before investing too much, and strategies for scaling your startup from early traction to really sustainable growth. I want to give you a story. So I had a friend of mine, this is in 2009, she reached out to me and she says, Nancy, can you help me? I want to start my own company. I know you've been self-employed for a lot of years and I really want to brainstorm with you. And I said, of course. So we sat down and started talking. And she had a really cute idea. She was going to make these really cute little sandals, and she's not doing it, but I don't want to, get into her intellectual property. But anyway, so she had this really cute idea. But her and I started really talking about how much money she was going to put into this. And she said, I think I have like 25,000 that I want to, try it out. And I said, okay, now that's great. I'm glad you have some runway, but let's peel back the onion a little bit. Let's talk about what this really means. And there really is three critical components when you're building a business. If you're going to build a business, you want to scale, you've got to get to 1 million. Then you got to have a plan to get to 10 million. And if you're going to bring in investment capital, VCs, you got to figure out how to get to 100 million. You're just not going to get anybody interested. In her particular case, we started talking about her model, what she was going to do. And what we really figured out is that she was going to throw a bunch of money at this product, and she was not in a position to do this business at this time. She would have wasted $25,000. And I started walking her through what it was going to take to get this business to be viable. And she was like a deer in headlights. And she said, I cannot believe this. I was ready to literally throw $25,000, and it's taken us years. That's a good portion of our savings. I was going to throw that at this and try this, and it just isn't viable right now. And I said, it's not because you don't have a great idea, Christina. It's because there's so much more to building a business and scaling a business and getting into a minimum viable product than just the product itself. So how do we validate an idea before we invest too much, before we do like what Christina did and throw $25,000 to the wind? So you have this great idea, and that's absolutely great. But before you pour your time and money into it, you have to make sure it actually solves a problem that people care about. So how do you do that? Well, customer discovery. So what you have to do is, the first step isn't building the product. The first step is talking to potential customers and how this product or service will enhance their lives. Because if it doesn't change anything for the better, they're not going to buy it, and they're probably not going to use it. Especially, you may have some friends that do, but it's not going to scale, right? So what you want to find out is, what are their pain points and how do they currently solve the problem? The goal is to uncover whether your idea truly actually fits a real need. You can have a great idea. You can have probably a good idea. You need to have an exceptional idea to make a lot of money when you're building a company. You just do. So now you got to get to building your minimum viable product. Now, what a lot of people do is they want to go out and build this perfect model. And I'm here to tell you that is not right thinking, because you want to build a minimum. There's a reason it's called MVP, minimum viable product. You want to have a product that produces the core value of what your offering is going to be, right? But what you want to do is you want it to be simple enough so that you're not throwing tons of money at it until you have really figured it out. Because almost every single business that's in market, I don't care what business it is, it's probably flawed. And so we've got to get our head around this simple version of really what you're trying to create. I'll give you an example of some great minimum viable products. Would be Dropbox's, their explainer video. Airbnb, their simple website. They did a great job. Both of those companies knocked it out of the park. Your MVP should really allow for feedback, but it shouldn't break the bank. You don't need to be at 100% when you're building MVP. You need to probably be at 80%. So keep that in mind. Now, here's the other thing, testing early adopters. You know, it's funny, a lot of people, they miss this stuff. They go and build it, and then they go and try to sell it, and they haven't talked to their customers, the people who are going to adopt the solution, adopt the product. So you want to find a small group of users who experience the problem deeply. And you want to go to them and observe really how they interact with your product or service and refine it based on their feedback. And be smart enough to listen, seek to understand. And don't argue with them if it's not exactly what they think or what you think. Just listen. Because whatever they're telling you has been their experience. And the likelihood is that experience is going to carry over to other people. So just hear what they're saying, and then you want to refine, obviously, your product around the feedback that you're getting. So you're going to test those early adopters. You're going to really, again, observe how they use this product. And sometimes that means that you have to watch that work. You have to watch the workflow, right? You have to stay next to them. And people are interesting. They love to help at this stage. They really, really do. So take advantage of that. Now, this is the big one. Measuring key metrics. So are people using your product, and are they using it repeatedly, right? And then this is the bigger thing. Are they willing to pay for it? You can have a great idea, but you can have an exceptional idea. But if people aren't willing to pay for it, that's going to be a real problem, right? Okay, so we want to look at engagement. We want to look at retention. We want to look at willingness to refer other people to you. Do they like it enough to go and share it and talk about it with colleagues, friends, etc. So pre-selling and pilot programs. Whenever you're going to launch anything, if you're a business and you're offering your product to a business, let's say you're B2B, likelihood is that if they choose to move forward with your product, they're going to want to do a pilot before they scale. You should be thinking in the same mindset. You want to scale your product with them in a pilot phase, because you want to work out any bugs, especially early on, before your model is 100% proven. You want to scale this with a handful of the locations. Let's say they have 100 locations. We want to try to get this to maybe we want 10 locations that we're gonna roll this out to, and we are going to watch the workflow, and we're going to make sure that it meets the need for our client, right? We're going to take care of them. So one of the best valuation models is see if people will pay you before you build it. If you can get that, that's ideal. Doesn't always happen, but just be mindful if you can. All right, now that we've really talked about validation, let's move on to the next big challenge, and it's called scaling. And don't beat yourself up, because this is hard for almost everybody. It's really hard for almost all founders. You can have great ideas, but its execution is where one of the biggest challenges comes in, because now you've validated the idea, you've gained some early traction. So now what? So, you got to scale this thing, and many startups struggle here, and they do because they need help to navigate this phase successfully. So you want to refine your business model. And a lot of this comes down to RevOps, which is a nice way to say sales and marketing. But a great product isn't good enough. It just isn't good enough. You need a business model that can scale. You've got to test different pricing strategies too, whether that's a recurring strategy, whether that's different revenue streams, different distribution channels. You've got to be open to different ways to get your product or service in market to grow. You've got to optimize those sales and marketing channels too. You really need to dig in and peel back the onion about focusing on what's working and double down on high performance acquisition channels. So like growth hacking techniques and referral programs, partnerships, content marketing. You've got to be watching every single one of these. Now here's the other one. This is an interesting one, is building a strong team. You're only as good at this point as the people that are behind you. And if you don't take anything away from this other than this piece of information right here, you want to bring people on at this stage who partner with your brand, with your values, your core values. Because when you're in the beginning stages of a company, you are the brand. You're creating a move. If it becomes a brand, you're creating a movement. You as the founder, as the CEO, you are the brand. And the most frustrating thing is to be building this brand and have somebody that comes in to work for you that is completely diametrically opposed to how you think. And trust me, I've done it. And it is so challenging. And this can be somebody that is incredibly talented. But if you don't mesh on core values, you're going to have a problem. This also is the stage where you're going to start bringing on employees. And remember, so here you are as the founder, you're the base, the foundation, you're the concrete of the company. And now we start adding, right? It's like building a house, right? You start adding the framing, and then you start filling the house up. And those are your employees, right? So if you don't have consistency when you're building, the people that are your employees or associates, I like to call them associates instead of employees, but when you get to that stage, the company's not going to look like you want it to look. Values and integrity are paramount to me. I can't work with people that don't have high values and are integrous and do the right thing when no one's looking. For me, that's just a deal breaker. And it takes time to really find those type of people. In another episode, I'll kind of address that. So scaling means hiring. Again, hiring strategically, find people aligned, like I said, with your vision, but they're going to help you drive growth. Now, automating and streamlining operations. You want to automate as much as you can, but as you are automating, make sure that especially if you're dealing with tech, if you're dealing with APIs, that if you're scaling and your growth is such that the APIs that you're using actually can withstand your growth. Because remember, this is your brand, you're building this company, and you have an API to XYZ other company that you're outsourcing a piece of your technology to, and they're not able to handle your growth. That reflects on you, and it's going to be a problem. So you need to make sure that you're really thinking about this. Now you can find, as you're thinking through this, you probably go, oh, now I can see why this stage is really tough. It's like a chess game, and there's all these different moving parts. And what you don't want to get into is obviously checkmate. So manual processes slow you down. And you want to use, like I said, the automation to scale efficiently, invest in systems that can handle the demand. Okay, now, securing funding at the right time. We all know that the number one reason that businesses fail is lack of cash flow. And 90% of them fail for that reason. When you're out looking for capital, the time to find money, if you can, is when you don't need it. But that's not usually what happens. If you can bootstrap, bootstrap. Get momentum in your company, but if you get to a point where you have to go out and get funding, you've got to make sure that when you're raising capital, that you don't sell too much of your company or lose control. And it can happen so easily. I've been there, I've done it, and then what ends up happening is you can take on too much capital too early, and that can hurt you. You can take on not enough capital, that can hurt you. So you have to really think through a viable funding strategy, and I would strongly encourage you to not think about this independently. You need to work with somebody who's been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and has crossed the bridge to success. And just because somebody says that they know how to do it, you need to verify that. You absolutely need to verify your sources. Again, find people in your fundraising strategy that align with your core values. Customer attention and experience. In this world, it is so much cheaper to retain a customer than to go and try to get a new one, right? So enhance the customer experience. I think in the world of tech, we lose this sometimes. We forget that customers have choices. So it's really important that we zero in on that customer experience through support, ongoing, and engagement. So scaling isn't just about growth. It's about sustainable, smart growth, right? So we're scaling our companies. We're getting it from 1 million to 10 million, and just be mindful, 7% of people, of startups crack, 7%, 1 million. When you get to going to 10 million, that's 0.004%. So this is really, you've got to be so strategic in every single step that you take. So there you have it. Whether you're early startup or you're in rapid growth, mastering product market fit and scaling is obviously critical for your long-term success. And I'm confident that if you're still here with me, you care about your business and you really want to make a difference and you want to make an impact. So you've got to make sure that you're following these strategies. Don't stop and jump over things. Don't get ahead of your skis. Take some time and think. The other thing is read, listen to other people who have been in your shoes. So if you're working in a startup and you need guidance, I'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at Cana Global, which is CANAGLOBAL.org. We are a faith-based venture firm, startup. We have a startup incubator called Elevate that is fantastic. Our managing member oversees that incubator, and he's been there, done it, been doing it for 40 years. If that's something that you're interested in, Cana, we are faith-based. So we're very unique. We love solo founders, startup founders. So please reach out. We also have a venture firm as well. We're looking for the 1%, but we're here to help you. The other thing I'd love to share with you is you can find me on LinkedIn at Nancy K. Coy. That's obviously Nancy K. Coy. And then you can also find me, if you want, at Cana Global. I just started a new program. It's called Her Kingdom Ventures. Her Kingdom Ventures was an idea that was inspired about 10 years ago at a Women of Faith conference. And I just have such a heart for women to be successful and really want to move the needle from 3 to 5% in the VC space. Now, it may sound like, what's 2% from what it is today? It's a massive number in the VC world. So we need to catch up with our male counterparts. And this is, again, never to be disparaging against guys. right? We're making huge strides, ladies, but we just need to keep on going. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and click that little button. Really appreciate it. Leave a review if you would, and share this information with other entrepreneurs, other women startup founders, business owners, and those that want to be. We want to get the word out. We want to make a difference, and we want to change the world. So ladies, keep growing, keep inspired, don't give up, and remember Colossians 3:23. I live for that scripture. We work for a master up above, not for human masters. So keep that front and center. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll look forward to catching up with you next Wednesday. Bye for now.